Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Boys League Draft Recap. Today, I'm with Kramer because AJ's taking way too long to get home, and I want to go do stuff with my life.
Agreed. We got football here in a minute, too, I think.
Yeah, we got to finish this up in 20 minutes. I'm excited to see Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. I'm excited to see Emmanuel Sanders, someone I may have drafted. Yeah. Not going to spoil it.
That is an interesting pick.
All right, so let's take a look at these first two rounds. What stands out to you, Kramer? I know something stands out to me, but I'll let you go first.
In the first two rounds, I would say the things that probably stood out to me the most was obviously my buddy drafted Devontae Adams, number 4. He is a Devontae Adams jerker, though. He's had him on his team for the first couple of years, but that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. I actually liked Cameron's pick of Alvin Kamara, number 1. He's my number 1 also. And then the biggest thing I took away from the first two rounds is I was hoping to get one of my guys at running back right there. And they all got basically taken afterwards. Like the enormous run on running backs right after I picked. And then that continued into the next round. I was figuring after I picked Kelsey that a wide receiver run would go pretty heavy, and I would be able to get one of the 3 people that all fell before me, Freeman, Mack, or Fournette, and that caused some brain issues.
Yeah, I don't know if I love the Kamara pick. I talked to Cameron before, and I made him feel okay about it. I don't think you should feel bad with it, but I just... I think I'd go Barkley in that situation, especially in a keeper where it's like I just get Barkley every single year from now on. I just think there's somewhat less risk. I mean, Drew Brees might retire soon. I don't know if that means Champagne's staying or not.
Well, Daniel Jones, though, you got to think about that.
I honestly, I don't feel that bad about Daniel Jones, but obviously it's the preseason. I hated him going into the draft. He's kind of showed me wrong, but proven me wrong. I know my pick got a little bit of controversy with Dalvin Cook first, but I did have insider information. Thank you to Kramer telling me how much Kyle
welcome.
Loves Dalvin Cook. And, I mean, I basically put it this way to a few people. If I went Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, they would have had no problem. And I got the same 2 players, and I just had a feeling it was going to work out that way. Now, if I did go Dalvin, and let's say Mixon got picked and Gurley fell to me, I would have felt a little weird. I was kind of hoping Juju or Julio wasn't selected at the turn, but I had a feeling. Anyway,
I really like both of my 2 buddies. Again, that's kind of why I wanted the end of the round there, is because I felt like I'm still pretty high on Todd Gurley, and I'm pretty high on Juju Smith-Schuster too, and both of them fell back there, and I probably would have been able to get I probably would have drafted the exact same 2 players for maybe both of those teams. I might not have picked Bell, but...
Yeah, I might have went Mixon Julio, if that's what I was faced at. Also surprised AK, one of AJ's friends, went carry on so early.
Blew my mind. I was so upset.
What is worrisome about that?
I was literally hoping to get him in the 3rd round, but he went a whole round and a half early.
I think carry on's was literally at his very peak when we drafted, because he's already starting to go down here and he's not getting the same amount of reps in practice. That Ty Johnson, someone who was selected in this draft by my cousin, spoiler, is getting reps. And also that CJ Anderson's getting some of the 3rd down work. So right when we drafted, I think Carry On's stock was at the highest it's ever been. With Riddick traded, everything was just pointing towards Carry On getting every snap ever. So
I agree. That it was still surprising seeing him that far up there. I was expecting him, to maybe fall to the end of the 2nd or something like that, or I wouldn't have been shocked to see him there, or like early 3rd, but early 2nd was a little bit shocking.
Looking at the 3rd and 4th round, you already mentioned Devontae Freeman, Marlon Mack, Fournette all went before you, and you went with the Mahomes pick. Now let's talk about this. I don't love the Mahomes pick with a QB early, and then while I am a guy who's been kind of rooting for the AJ Green pick, I don't know if I would have went with him in the fourth, especially without a wide receiver. How are you feeling now that you are sober after that draft? Looking at your team.
Immediately after the draft, I was looking at it and I felt pretty shitty And then I looked at it again. I've been looking at it the last couple of days, obviously. Looked at it again, and I don't feel too bad, honestly, now. Once AJ Green comes back, and I did say 2 weeks in the thing, and I believe that was what the original report is, that injury should take 8 weeks to heal. That's the normal timetable for that injury, and that should be playing by week 3.
Yeah, so, I've heard reports all the way from, like, he might be questionable to week 1 to he'll be questionable up to week 4. Like, that's probably the time frame.
And I mean, missing out on all the guys in the first 3 rounds. So basically, there was the last player, wide receiver, that I really wanted before I think there was maybe a little bit more of a drop off. Let's see, was Robert Woods had already gone. Julian Edelman was a solid one that I was hoping to get, possibly just for solidifying that spot. And then it was like I was looking at Tyler Lockett, Kenny Golladay, Tyler Boyd. It's like none of those guys really seem like the number one that AJ Green could be when he's healthy. And so I figured, having no wide receivers already, I might as well just shoot for the highest upside one.
Yeah, I see that. I honestly see what you were thinking. I just don't know if I agree with it. We saw Ertz and Kittle go off. They went in the order I actually expect them to go off in a lot of drafts, with Kittle going first because of the ceiling. Chris Carson went at 4-2. I know, pretty much talking to everybody, every single person, besides myself, who already had 3 running backs, and we'll get to that in a second, was hoping Chris Carson would fall to them in the 4th.
Exactly.
He's looking really good.
Pick, I guess.
Yeah. I went Robert Woods, Melvin Gordon. Gordon obviously dealing with the holdout. I just figure he has to come back at some point this season. And when he does, my roster's going to be stacked. So that's the hope.
Yeah, I thought at my prediction was basically like, I think he's going to be gone for like 4 or 5 weeks. And I could see him being gone for 4 and 5 weeks and the Chargers still doing well, and him not coming back because, they need him, but him coming back because, like, he's starting to realize, oh, shit, they're still going to be pretty good without me, so I better just come back and make my money then. Yeah. Hopefully they won't run me into the ground, so.
Highlighting some other stuff at the 3-4, David Montgomery went pretty early. He's definitely flying upwards at 3-9 with my cousin Tony. Fournette, Ertz, Dylan, really interesting. First, we'll look at number 5 too. His first 5 picks: Adams, Antonio Brown, Fournette, Ertz, Mayfield. He not only took a scary roster because you only have 1 running back there, but none of those picks, besides Devontae Adams, who's literally the safest player in the world, are safe picks. I mean, you're taking Antonio Brown, who he's starting to remind me of when my Vikings traded Randy Moss to the Raiders, and he just did nothing. We have Fournette, who's got his injury history. Zach Ertz, who I'm a little worried about with Dallas Goedert. Baker Mayfield, in his second year, he looks primed to be great, but you're still taking him in the 5th.
Yeah, that was a bold pick. That was Dylan was pretty messed up that day too, so I think that might have something to do with it. But it definitely cued me in that he's very high on Baker Mayfield. But we've always had this running joke in our league that Dylan's team always looks like Dylan's team. It's like the players that almost no one else really thinks about or drafts or takes, and then somehow his team ends up being really good and consistent. So we'll see if it continues in this league, but that's been the case in our other league, where every year it's just like everyone looks at his team and doesn't really like it. And even a lot of times he doesn't like it, and then they just end up doing well. So just his luck.
Looking now at the 5-6, highlighting Cameron's team after that first pick of Kamara, going Hilton, Freeman, I really liked it. Golladay, Boyd, I don't know how
same player.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a very safe floor.
But
I would have went Cup,
another thing
obviously.
that fucked me up is Tariq Cohen. He took Tariq Cohen in the 6th. I was hoping he would come back to me too. But then again, I did get Lamar, who I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, that's like the perfect safety pick. And then I was hoping Tariq Cohen wouldn't go until, mid-7th, and I'd have a chance at getting him. But
yeah. Ryan, got the Deshaun Watson Hopkins stack by grabbing Watson in the 5th.
That's a solid stack.
And then we're not going to escape this without talking about Justice Hill. I honestly...
I don't know. I didn't even talk to my brother about Justice Hill. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty positive he must have scoped it off of... What I'm thinking happened is... how many rounds is this league?
16?
16, yeah. Okay, so my buddy Kyle knows I love Justice Hill. And so I'm sure he was telling Lake that draft Justice Hill in the 15th round because I will take him in the 16th round. And then he, like we said in the stream, apparently missed the one and decided to take him in the 50 or the 6th round. I mean, I really like Justice Hill, and I think he could eventually be... There's honestly, I think, a chance that he ends up over the last half of the season being a top 20 player, but not a 6th-round pick.
If you look at Lake's team up until that point, you would have no idea that he hasn't played fantasy, though, before. I really like... He got value at every single pick.
Derrick he was Henry, doing well. We were all trying to give him as much motivation. He was super pumped about when OBJ fell to him. We were all pretty... I mean... The whole draft room was fucking wild. It would have been great if we were able to get the video in here the whole time. It was a fucking just a music blaring, smoke, fucking shots going down at the start of the draft, beers everywhere, picks flying, people talking shit the entire time to each other. So
I'm excited, even though we won't be in the same place. Cameron's going to be here for our Dynasty draft. I'm excited for our Dynasty draft because that thing's going to be like 8 hours. I don't know if I'm going to last 8 hours.
It's going to be literally starting at like midnight.
No, we decided on the morning.
Oh, I saw it was at like 4 p.m. or something like that. And I was like, that's like midnight or 1 o'clock where I'm going to be. And I'm on vacation. I go to bed at like 11 on vacation, which is a little bit early for me.
All right. So back to our draft. The other thing to note, I'll say it. I reached on Josh Gordon. This league is for entertainment, and I definitely, Dalvin Cook is another one where it's like I never draft Dalvin because I never feel like his value, but because this is a little bit less of a high stakes league, it's for entertainment. I'm like, I'm glad I finally was able to get him. And then Josh Gordon, I mean, he's my man. I love him to death. And he's going to get...
I took him in our other draft, but I mean, it was in like probably the 9th round or something like that.
I was told...
In my other draft, I was absolutely stacked with draft picks too, so...
I was told that if I didn't pick Josh Gordon, he was going... Literally, the next 2 players would have selected him. So I did have to get him there. We now look a little bit farther down towards the later rounds. We'll cover the 7th, 8th, 9th round. To note, Matt Ryan went kind of early with AK's team. I think he has obviously very solid running backs. I was surprised he didn't select OBJ and he selected Carry-On. But then, Edelman, Alshon, Christian Kirk. Mm-hmm. That's decent wide receiver depth. I just would never have drafted Matt Ryan that early, personally. Other things to highlight. You went Latavius Murray, Royce Freeman, trying to get some backups in there, hoping Kamara gets hurt.
Everyone, dude. I was getting sniped almost every single round. It was so funny. I was like sitting there talking with all my buddies. I was like, okay, they all know that I love Allen Robinson. He gets taken 2 picks before me. And then I was like, oh shit, Mike Williams still there. And then Dylan, my buddy, takes him. The Tariq Cohen got took right. I mean, like basically all the players. There was like 5 or 6 players I wanted, or 5 players I wanted to come back to me right there, and every single one of them got taken in a draft where it seemed like, everyone was kind of having fun and like reaching and really going after the players they wanted and stuff like that. And these guys were all kind of like still just hanging at the top of the board. I was like, oh, there's no way one of these guys isn't going to fall to me. It just so happens that none of them did. But I was getting sniped. Did you draft Breida, right?
I drafted Breida, yes.
Yeah. I was going to pick him that round too. It was like, as I brought up his name, you fucking drafted him. I was like, oh, Damn it.
Well, looking at these rounds, highlight Vance McDonald went, so that was the only tight end that was going to target early. OJ Howard, Jared Cook went somewhat early, not too crazy. Dante Pettis,
AJ going Jalen Samuels and Duke Johnson pretty early too.
Well, I was going to note that. Let's move down a little bit. Between rounds 8 and 11, the amount of running back, like the late round running backs, just flew off the board. Like, absolutely were. Everyone that I liked went off. I mean, Kalen Balazs all the way in the 9th. Devin Singletary guy, I've been getting in the 14th and 15th one, the 10th. Kareem Hunt went to Dylan. Alex Madison, not a big fan of him as a Vikings fan. Carlos Hyde even went. I grabbed Breida. Damian Harris, Justin Jack, like literally all the late round running backs were pretty much gone by the time you got to the 12th.
This is something we could never predict in all these mock drafts,
Yeah, it's tough. One, I hit on this quite a bit, so if you watch the live stream, you know what I'm gonna say. I'm playing Dylan week 1, so I'm gonna talk a little trash here. His running back situation is not great. Like I'm high on Miles Sanders. I understand Fournette. Like, he might be okay. There's a world where everything he did pays off because he's stacked at wide receiver. He's got a great tight end and a great quarterback. But Kareem Hunt's not playing for 8 games. Damian Harris is not going to be part of that offense the first half of the season. Jerick McKinnon's going to be on IR. So that's also 3 roster spots he just has to eat up for half the season, I think.
He looked back on his team afterwards and wasn't too happy. He was like, man, I was pretty fucked up while I was drafting. And that shows. I was like, yeah. I mean, you were pretty bold almost the entire draft. You were making some pretty bold picks and everything. And it definitely hurt his running back core the most. His wide receivers are super stacked. It probably would have helped him to go, maybe with like, I don't know where you'd really change too much though.
Fitzgerald, I changed that into Pam Barber or Jordan Howard or Adrian Peterson. None of which are great, but it's just he has depth for the first 8 games.
Yeah, I was looking at Peyton Barber and Adrian Peterson. I ended up taking, again, I took Latavius Murray in my other draft too, more so just because I had Alvin Kamara, but I hadn't really been looking at Latavius Murray much, but I hear so many people raving about him and stuff. It's like, okay, I see how it could happen, and I need that sort of upside for like my RB3 when Lamar Miller's my RB2. He's not going to be like an RB1 type guy really ever. And then just another dart throwing Royce Freeman. And I got a couple late round wide receivers I really liked in QT and Miller.
Yeah.
And then Davis that far down, it's like, okay, at some point you have to take him, I guess. Someone's got to do it. And I was like, well, fuck it. I mean, Allison's gone. Valdez-Scantling was gone. The best I was thinking Sanders there too, but I was like, okay, well, at least Corey Davis is healthy right now. So
to highlight a few oddities in this draft really quick, it was interesting Cameron went with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. He's basically told, I mean, we were talking after, it's like he's going to see week 1 who that other guy's going to be with Gurley because no one expects Gurley to get all the snaps. And whoever it is, just drop the other one.
He took Henderson really early too.
Yeah, I don't love that. That was a weird 3 picks. Henderson, Duke Johnson, Kalen Balazs. I was like, well, what round are we in? And then AJ going, he's done this before, the Austin Hooper, Jack Doyle stack.
That's just so weird.
Weird.
He's giving me shit for drafting a quarterback early, and he has 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends on his roster.
Now, what was the story with the George Kittle, Jared Cook? Was that an accident? Why did Andrew draft Kittle and Cook?
I think that was probably an accident.
Okay. I imagine my cousin literally says, I'm pretty sure he wrote Cooks in. He thought it was Brandon Cooks was somehow still on the board, and then he realized it was Jared Cook.
I didn't even notice that. I'm gonna have to ask him, but yeah, that's an interesting pick.
And
maybe
he can't really drop either of them.
Jared Cook. I mean, Jared Cook could be okay, but okay for a tight end. I mean, he can flex him, I guess, but
yeah,
he's got Curtis Samuel. Not a bad pick after that.
No, his roster's not terrible. I'm not a huge fan of James White going Aaron Rodgers. Actually, he picked a lot of the guys I'm not high on. You know me, I'm not high on Bell, Brandon Cooks, James White. A lot of those guys I was like, ooh, that's like the anti-team for me.
It's your exact opposite.
Exactly.
Kyle did the same thing too, though. He also grabbed 2 tight ends. He got Dallas Goedert, but I think Dallas Goedert, since this is a keeper league, is actually, I was like, he was doing big brain moves over there. I was like, that actually might be kind of smart if like they end up. I guess Ertz. What's Ertz's contract like?
I had to look at it because that's immediately what I said in the stream. I don't think it's ending anytime soon. I don't see a world where they let Ertz go, to be honest. Like, no matter how good Goddard is, because he really likes the 2 tight ends over there.
But if he went somewhere, maybe because he's only, this is just going to be his second year or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not going to be, like, going to a different team unless he's traded or something. But Dallas Goedert is one of those guys I really liked coming out of the draft. It was him, Anthony Miller, and Sony Michel were, like, 3 of my favorite players coming out of that draft.
Oh, yeah.
And all 3 of them I thought went to basically, like, terrible
the worst situation possible.
Yeah, like Dallas Goedert went behind Zach Ertz. All right, just forget about him. Anthony Miller is with the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky, and they already have Allen Robinson there, who I think is going to be a lot better this year and just be a pretty solid number 1.
Sony's situation isn't the worst at this point, but
it's not the worst. But like going into it, there were so many years of like Patriots running backs just doing random stuff that you can never predict which one was going to work, and he seemed like one of those guys that was just going to be put into the middle of the rotation and you're never going to know when to play him. But he seems a little bit more safe now, but even going into this season we don't really know for sure.
I want Mark Andrews, I guess, kind of early, but again, reaching for the tight end I really wanted. And then as soon as I do that, I think Sleeper has released 2 alerts since, just absolutely stroking themselves to Mark Andrews on how good his camp is. So then I got Andrew Luck in the 12th, and now the news seems to be trending very upward for him, so I'm happy about that.
That was good.
I got
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I got Lamar Jackson. And the reason I got Lamar, I will say this, is when you're looking at a guy that might miss the first couple weeks, look at the schedule of the backup QB you want. Lamar Jackson plays Miami, who their defense isn't terrible, but their rush defense last year was literally the worst. And that's why I drafted Lamar Jackson, is the running back potential for him. So, here's that.
And apparently late rounds, my buddies took to heart my philosophy that I've been preaching, that kickers should go before defenses, the top end kickers, because Dylan took Justin Tucker in the 12th round. I guess the Bears defense went 11-6 to R.A. Carr 24.
Yeah, I was really surprised I was the only person who didn't grab one. Like, I'm happy about that, because that means I just get to drop whoever I want and select whatever I want come the season. But
the only part I don't like about that is, like, I like just drafting who I plan on streaming in the first round at least.
Yeah.
Like right now, I still am debating switching my defense and stuff too. I would have really liked to have gotten the Cowboys defense, was like the one I really wanted for the first couple weeks. But then they went, and it's like, okay, well, fuck it.
There's a couple defenses right now I would be really happy with. Like, obviously there's time. I'm not going to tell you guys who.
Yeah.
But hopefully I end up with them. I might drop Traquan or Gus Edwards right away for that defense. But the kicker definitely can wait at this point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, the kicker, well, I just think, again, like I was saying earlier, I think if you get like one of the top, there's like 4 guys that are the top kickers on my list, basically. Like Tucker, Zerline, Will Lutz, and Harrison Butker. You could throw Fairbairn in there.
Went crazy last year, so yeah.
Yeah. It's like those guys, if you miss out on those guys, which was pretty early in our draft actually, then it's like, I'll just take them in the last round then. I don't really care. But I think the Tuckers, the Zerlines, the guys with the super high accuracy numbers, and that's why I like Greg Zerline the most, just because it's like super accurate, but he could also has like the possibility of hitting a 70-yard field goal. That's just like no other kicker is going to give you that. But again, they're kickers, so they don't really give you that much anyways.
Yeah, and so the last thing I think to cover, and I think AJ might be making a whole video about this, is the pause controversy.
Oh, yes. The pause controversy.
In the 10th round, Hunter Westbrook was up to pick. He was talking to me live on stream about a trade. I sent him a trade with 20 seconds left for him to pick, and he then informs me, yo, I can't select my guy. I think it's because you sent me a trade. Now, Sleeper is an amazing app, but they are still relatively new, and there's a couple bugs here and there. The thing is, their customization makes up for it. Like, you can do whatever you want, so if there's a bug that happens, you can fix it. So, I paused the draft. I then got bombarded by Kramer's entourage and many others. Very confused on what is going on.
We're a little upset.
Following that, though, so
that was funny though.
Because I paused the draft, I think the entire time Hunter was then 10 seconds behind. So then when he went to pick in the 13th round, he got auto drafted Kyler Murray, and I paused for a second just to see what was going on. Once again, the chat erupted. I was getting called for my head. I was told everyone's leaving the draft. So following that, being the asshole I am, later in the draft, I just randomly paused it to see your guys' reaction. And that was hilarious. And I think that's when Lake couldn't find the LA defense, so he ended up picking Jared Goff by accident, which I think is a great pick.
I know. I was like, damn, that made me realize that I could have gotten Jared Goff way the hell down there, but okay.
I mean, Mahomes looks good until you realize,
until I see what it does to the rest of my team.
And the fact that
like we think that now the part that made me do it was me just sitting here and I was just pausing basically for dramatic effect or whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. And then my two buddies sitting next to me were like, yo, 6-point passing TDs. And they were just like sitting there whispering that in my ear the whole time. And that I had Kelsey with the stack. And so I did what I never do. I did my cardinal sin and drafted a QB super early. But yeah, it does definitely hurt the rest of my roster. But then again, I have like three players that are going to be an immediate advantage if they're on the field for me over any other team. So besides maybe Deshaun Watson and Rodgers, I think. But
all right, so let us know who you think had the best team. Also, shout out Tony. If Ty Johnson ends up working out, I will sponsor any fantasy football ventures you ever do in writing because you're a prophet. Because I don't. The most random 6th round running back ever behind like 3 running backs. And he apparently has called this the whole offseason. So we'll see. Thank you guys for watching. Look forward to, I think, our first preview video before week 1. AJ will have that up for you guys. And I hope you enjoy this YouTube series. I hope we make it entertaining for you.
See you after the vacation.
Bye, Kramer. Don't die on an elephant.
I won't. It'll probably be a shark. Bye.